As somebody who represents one of the seventh largest city in the state, but also represents a vast, I should say, diversity as far as zoning. I have people that are farmers. I have people that are in public housing. I have people who are rural, and I have people who are city. I know in the city of Danbury, we are struggling with affordability issues. We are one of the few towns that is actually compliant with 830G. And sadly, many of our surrounding communities are not. And what happens is with dealing with 830G, a lot of the suburban communities around us, because they cannot meet the infrastructure requirements that is necessary for putting in affordable housing projects, and I use the word project loosely because when we talk about affordability, we don't talk about slum housing, we don't talk about low rent, we talk about what is affordable, things that are affordable for teachers and firefighters and police officers. We talk about things that enable those who serve in our communities to reside and live in the communities that they serve. And we found many times that with regards to first responders, if they are able to live in the communities that they serve, they have, I hate to say more of a vested interest, but they have more of a impact in that community of knowing more about what's going on, knowing about what the neighbors, the requirements, and other things are. As a technical freshman, again, I have served on this committee for 4 years. I remember when we talked about making accessory apartments as a right, and I had issues with it, but I supported it because it had an opt-out clause. Because though we write legislation that affects 169 communities, we understand that some communities are in support and need such legislation when others cannot. And I know in my community, we opted out because we are already doing many of those things. Also, given the density of some of the properties, the accessory housing was a bit of an issue as far as being able to make it work in our community. I myself do have some issues with this bill. I had issues with it 4 years ago, 3 years ago. When we've discussed this, and I've made those known. But I also do know that as somebody who has stood up in front of our elected zoning board on numerous occasions, in fact, it's that advocacy of standing up in front of those zoning boards that the residents of my community asked me to run for this office, thinking that we could do more. So I am very versed in how zoning works. I'm very versed on how the impacts of affordability works. And though I do have some issues with this bill, it is my hope that as we move forward that maybe we can correct or fix some of the concerns that I have made known in the past as to this, because again, one size does not fit all, but at least we need to start having those discussions. I think a big part of it would be is to get towns compliant with 830G as one of the communities that's population is exploding, one of the communities that we need to build more schools because our population is exploding when other communities are shrinking. It comes down to affordability. When I watch during COVID, the average residential house that before COVID was say $200,000-$300,000 is now over $500,000-$600,000. What do we say to those individuals who would like to live in the community that they grew up in and worked in, that they no longer can afford to do so? So let's be careful when we say affordability and we try to tie that into undesirable development, but actually affordability to be able to allow, again, those individuals who live, serve, have grown up in a community to be able to still reside there. So even though I myself have some issues with this bill, I will support it to get it out of this committee because we all know how the sausage is made. There's a lot that happens between us getting it out of committee and what actually winds up on the floor for a vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.